Hare Krishna, Krishna Krishna, Hare Hare, Hare Rama, Rama Rama, Hare Hare. I was born in the darkest ignorance, and my spiritual master opened my eyes with the torch of knowledge. I offer my respectful obeisances unto him. Today we'll be reading together Bhagavad Gita as it is, chapter 1, verses 13 through 23, and we can read the Sanskrit and translation together. 113. Tata Shankascha Berascha Panavanaka Gomukha Sahasaiva Bayanyanta Sashabda Shumalo Bhavat. Translation. After that, the conch shells, bugles, trumpets, drums, and horns were all suddenly sounded, and the combined sound was tumultuous. Text 14. Oh, sorry. This is page 44, Bhagavad Gita as it is, 44 in the temple room. And here's text 14. Tata sevta haryute mahati sandane stitao madhava pandavas chaiva divyao shankao pradad himato. On the other hand, both Lord Krishna and Arjuna, stationed on a great chariot drawn by white horses, sounded their transcendental conch shells. Text 15. Panchajanyam Hrishikesho Devadatam Dhananjaya Poundram Dadmao Mahasankam Bhima Karma Vrikodarha. Translation. Then Lord Krishna blew his conch shell, called Panchajanya. Arjuna blew his, the Devadatta, and Bhima, the voracious eater and performer of Herculean tasks, blew his terrific conch shell called Poundram. Text 16 through 18. Anant Vijayam Raja Kunti Putra Yudhishthira Nakula Sahdevascha Sughosha Mani Pushpakao Kaushascha Parameshvasha Shikandi Cha Maharataha Dristadamno Vritascha Satyakishcha Prachachitaha Drupado Draupadeshascha Sarvascha Pritivipate Saubhadrascha Mahabahu Shankam Dadhu Pritak Pritak. Translation. King Yudhishthir, the son of Kunti, blew his conch shell. The Anta Vijaya and Nakula and Sahadev blew the Sughosha and Mani Pushpaka. That great archer, the king of Kashi, the great fighter Shikandi, Drishtadyumna, Virata, and the unconquerable Shatyaki, Drupada, the sons of Draupadi, and the others, O king, such as the son of Subhadra, greatly armed, all blew their respective conch shells. Text 19. Sagasho Dharta Rastranam Hridayani Vyadarayat Nabhascha Prithivim Chaiva Tumalo Bhyanunandayan. Translation. The blowing of these different conch shells became uproarious, and thus, vibrating both in the sky and on the earth, it shattered the hearts of the sons of Dhritarashtra. Text 20. Ata vyavashti tandristva dartarastran kapidvaja Pravrite Shastra Sampate Danur Udyamya Pandavaha Rishikesham Tadavakyam Idam Aha Mahipate. Translation. O king, at that time Arjuna, the son of Pandu, who was seated in his chariot, his flag marked with Hanuman, took up his bow and prepared to shoot his arrows, looking at the sons of Dhritarashtra. O king, Arjuna then spoke to Hrishikesha, Krishna, these words. Text 21 through 22. Arjuna uvacha Shinyor ubyayor madhye Ratam stapaya me chuta Yavad etan riksheksha Man avastitan Karmaya saha yodhavyam Asmin rana samudyame. Translation. Arjuna said, O infallible one, please draw my chariot between the two armies so that I may see who is present here, who is desirous of fighting, and with whom I must contend in this great battle attempt. Text 23. Yotshamanan avekshe hamya ete trasa magataha Tartarashtrasya durbeder yudhe priya chikir shavaha. Translation. Let me see those who have come here to fight, wishing to please the evil-minded son of Dhritarashtra. Now we can go back and look at some of the, analyze some of these verses, because we just read 13 through 23. And we will we'll continue to look at these translations and purports by His Divine Grace A.C. Bhaktivedanta Swami Srila Prabhupada, founder Acharya of the International Society for Krishna Consciousness. Srila Prabhupada Ki Jai. Hare Krishna. So we're in the first chapter, and as the Bhagavad Gita, and Bhagavad Gita means the song of God. And so this is direct words from God, from Lord Sri Krishna. So these are very nice to analyze, and that's why we read this book and Srimad Bhagavatam every day, to constantly be putting good things in. Just like we're trying to put good, clean water in, we're trying to put good, clean Shastra, good Shastra in every day, because we need that. And so this is the beginnings of the war of Kurukshetra, and it starts with a question from Dhritarashtra, who's the blind. He always wanted to be a king, but he really wasn't fit to be a king because he was blind, and so it's always been a grudge. And so Sanjaya is seeing all these things, and he's relaying the story to Dhritarashtra, the king. And the whole book basically starts with this question, what happened? What did they do? What he wants to be told what happened. So, what did they do? What did my sons and the sons of Pandu do? So we've got the Pandavas versus the Kurus, the Kauravas, also known as the Kurus, and we've got the Pandavas, or the Pandus. And it looks like there's about to be an epic battle, and the conch shells are being blown. And a conch shell, which we heard earlier, the conch shell that can also mean the transcendental. It can represent the transcendental Om, and it can be symbolic of victory. And they all had their own conch shells. And so Dhritarashtra is saying, what did they do? And the whole first chapter is Dhritarashtra's question to Sanjaya. And Duryodhana is Dhritarashtra's son. He's out there on the Kurus. And it's called Kurukshetra, this place where they were fighting the battle, Kurukshetra. It's also called Dharma Kshetra. And Duryodhana's teacher is Dronacharya. And so they're talking a little bit, and then what happens in verse 14? In verse 14, it says, on the other side, both Lord Krishna and Arjuna, stationed on a great chariot drawn by white horses, sounded their transcendental conch shells. And so that's the first time we see Lord Krishna's name in this book. And of course, and his name is so powerful, Lord Krishna. And his name, his transcendental potencies are actually imbued within the name. And they say when you're chanting the Maha Mantra, Hare Krishna, Krishna Krishna, Hare Hare, Hare Rama, Rama Rama, Hare Hare. Krishna is dancing on your tongue. And so many of the world's religions speak of the power of the Lord's names and chanting the Lord's names and his glories. And so Krishna is the most powerful name to associate with. And so this is the first time we see his name mentioned in the Bhagavad Gita. And it says, on the other side, both Lord Krishna and Arjuna, stationed on a great chariot drawn by white horses, sounded their transcendental chariots. And they all have names for their conch shells. And some of these things, too, that Arjuna has were a gift. One small note is Arjuna had previously vowed. Arjuna's having some doubts now. He's kind of laying his bow down and he's saying, look, on the other side, there's my grandfather and there's my teacher that taught me how to shoot this bow and become, and Arjuna's the greatest archer. And so he's saying, look, there's my teacher and there's my grandfather, and I have to do battle with them. This is a lot. But at one point, Arjuna had previously vowed to kill anyone who suggested that he put his bow down. But now he's having some indecision. And Kshatriya is a warrior, right? Kshatriya is a warrior. And back then, so many Kshatriyas would travel just to be in a battle. To be in an auspicious battle was a great thing for Kshatriya. They actually did not mind to die in battle. Is a glorious death. And so you've got people coming to this battle, this epic battle. And so let's continue here. Jump ahead just a little bit to 20, text 20 here. O king, at that time Arjuna, the son of Pandu, who was seated in his chariot, his flag marked with Hanuman, took up his bow and prepared to shoot his arrows, looking at the sons of Dhritarashtra. O king, Arjuna then spoke to Hrishikesh, Krishna, these words, purport. The battle was just about to begin. It is understood from the above statement that the sons of Dhritarashtra were more or less disheartened by the unexpected arrangement of military force by the Pandavas, who were guided by the direct instructions of Lord Krishna on the battlefield. The emblem of Hanuman on the flag of Arjuna is another sign of victory because Hanuman cooperated with Lord Rama in the battle between Rama and Ravana, and Lord Rama emerged victorious. Now both Rama and Hanuman were present on the chariot of Arjuna to help him. Lord Krishna is Rama himself, and wherever Lord Rama is, his eternal servitor Hanuman and his eternal consort Sita, the goddess of fortune, are present. Therefore, Arjuna had no cause to fear any enemies whatsoever. And above all, the Lord of the senses, Lord Krishna, was personally present to give him direction. Thus, all good counsel was available to Arjuna in the matter of executing the battle. In such auspicious conditions, arranged by the Lord for his eternal devotee, lay the signs of assured victory. Shri Shri Gaur Nitai Ki Jai. Hare Krishna. So, and there's one reason why we're all here, and there's one reason why everyone on that battlefield was there. And why is anyone here? There's only one reason, and it's because the Lord Krishna is allowing us to be here. So there's one, he could snap his fingers and pretty much, anything can happen. And but that's one reason that's the reason we're here. There's no other single reason except it's Krishna's will. And so he's allowing everything to happen. Everything that is happening, everything you're seeing, everything that's happening is being allowed to happen because of Krishna's will. And everything is going according to his plan. And we're just trying to help execute his transcendently wonderful plan. If at all possible. It is fun being a part of a team. And here in the war of the Kurukshetra, you have these opposing teams. And but it's so nice that we're all on the same team. And we all are from different places, and sometimes we hear that that it's natural for us to have little tough moments interpersonally, and because we're all from different places and things, and that's naturally going to happen. But for the most part, we have so much in common. We're all here because we all have so much in common, and so I like to focus on that. And occasionally, if a tiff happens, you can bring up the fact that yes, we all are so different, and these things are bound to happen. But I think for the most part, we can say that we all are such like-minded individuals to be shown this path and to find this path. And so I love thinking about the team. And this flag, these auspicious flags. So he's Hanuman. There's a story of Hanuman where Bhima, Draupadi, this beautiful flower came down the river, and she said, "Oh, Bhima, can you find another of these wonderful flowers for me?" So he charged up this mountain. This big mountain is really not meant for any normal person to climb. And he's climbing up this mountain and tumultuously disturbing elephants, and he comes across a big monkey. He can't pass it. And this monkey says, please, don't you want to just kind of hang out and let's just have some fruit and let's relax a little while? And he says, no, I really need to pass, and the monkey says, well, step over. You can step over. And Bhima said, no, I don't step over. That's not the way we do it. And he said, well, please just move my tail. And it was too heavy. This tail of this monkey was too heavy to move. And so Bhima says, who are you? Who are you? And he said, Hanuman, I'm Hanuman. And so then it was known, oh, we're actually kind of long-lost brothers, because they both had the same father, the same mystical, transcendental father, which is pretty amazing, Vayu, the wind god. And so that was pretty awesome. And on the flag itself, the Pandavas, they all had mystical demigod fathers, actually. And Hanuman at that point said, I shall remain on the flag of your brother Arjuna. I shall remain there, and when you roar, I will roar with you. So that's very nice. Hanuman is there helping. Okay, going on to 21 through 22. 21 through 22 here. Translation. Arjuna said, O infallible one, please draw my chariot between the two armies so that I may see who is present here, who is desirous of fighting, and with whom I must contend in this great battle attempt. Purport. Although Lord Krishna is the Supreme Personality of Godhead, out of his causeless mercy, he was engaged in the service of his friend. He never fails in his affection for his devotees, and thus he is addressed herein as infallible. As charioteer, he had to carry out the orders of Arjuna, and since he did not hesitate to do so, he is addressed as infallible. Although he had accepted the position of a charioteer for his devotee, his supreme position was not challenged. In all circumstances, he is the Supreme Personality of Godhead, Hrishikesh, the Lord of the total senses. The relationship between the Lord and his servitor is very sweet and transcendental. The servitor is always ready to render a service to the Lord. And similarly, the Lord is always seeking an opportunity to render some service to the devotee. He takes greater pleasure in his pure devotees assuming the advantageous position of ordering him than he does in being the giver of orders. As master, everyone is under his orders, and no one is above him to order him. But when he finds that a pure devotee is ordering him, he obtains transcendental pleasure, although he is the infallible master of all circumstances. As a pure devotee of the Lord, Arjuna had no desire to fight with his cousins and brothers, but he was forced to come onto the battlefield by the obstinacy of Duryodhana, who was never agreeable to any peaceful negotiation. Therefore, he was very anxious to see who the leading persons present on the battlefield were. Although there was no question of a peacemaking endeavor on the battlefield, he wanted to see them again and to see how much they were bent upon demanding an unwanted war. So we are trying to surrender to the Supreme Personality of Godhead, Rishikesh, the Lord of the total senses. And we're trying to nurture this bhakti lata, this bhakti creeper. This creeper that will eventually, if it keeps on being nurtured, will penetrate the covering of the universe and will actually penetrate into the spiritual world until it finds the abode of Lord Krishna's lotus feet. This is the bhakti creeper. And so we're just trying to remember Lord Krishna and never forget him. And, Bhagavad Gita 4:9, Janma karma chame divyam, evam yoveti tatvataha. Janma karma chame divyam, evam yoveti tatvataha, tyaktva punarjanmam, yeti mam eti so Arjuna. One who knows my transcendental appearance and activities does not, after leaving the body, take birth again, but attains my eternal abode, O Arjuna. And also from the Garuda Purana, Om Abhavitra Pavitra Va Sarvavashtam Gatopi Va Yasmaret Pundarikaksham Sabhayavantar Suchi. One who remembers, whether pure or impure, or having passed through all material conditions, one who remembers lotus-eyed Krishna becomes externally and internally pure. So throughout our days, what is Bhakti Yoga? This highest of all the yogas. And yoga means to connect with the Supreme. What is this Bhakti Yoga and how do we do it? Is it a sitting posture? Is it a mantra? It's about chanting the Maha Mantra and the four regulative principles. And it's also about just allowing yourself to surround yourself with good association, friends from the temple, and also reading some books, reading every day, and trying to even pass this knowledge along as well. And all these things, as we do more and more of these things, you're continuing to water that bhakti creeper and just being open to that. And whatever you do every day is what you'll get good at, And so whatever you spend time doing, you'll get very good at. And so devotional service is about working and doing things, even washing dishes, but also thinking of Lord Sri Krishna at the same time and taking pleasure in serving, and even in some small way, Rishikesh, the master of the senses, and he's why we're here. And so, if we should be thankful that we're here, and we should also try to serve him to the most. 1 second here. Okay. Now, a couple other things related. There's this word, immediately, that I really like, sadhya, immediately. And there's a verse in Srimad Bhagavatam 1:19-34. Sanidyate mahayogin patakani mahanchapi sajunashanti vai pumsam vishnor eva sure taraha. Just as the atheist cannot remain in the presence of the personality of Godhead, so also the invulnerable sins of a man are immediately vanquished in your presence, O saint, O great mystic. So an atheist cannot remain in the presence of the personality of Godhead. And we we are out there and we are preaching love of God. And there are atheists out there and agnostics and people that don't know and people confusion and but who's out there actually trying to distribute books? Who's out there excited about associating with God, about helping people make spiritual advancement or help making people make advancement in any way? Are the atheists out there on the street with any sort of brochures or no? There isn't. There's a negativity there, and we should look on the bright side. And you just don't see them out there. You don't see agnostics out there saying, "Hey, the agnostic club is coming out tonight. Let's all get together and we'll just talk about these deep agnostic principles that we've." No, these books are so great because they come from the highest. And Shastra, we have to have some shraddha, some faith, but it's coming down from the very top. And so these are the trusted books that the great Vaishnavas have said, these are the ones. These are the ones. So if the great teacher keeps saying, these are the ones, if you respect the teacher, you say, yes, these are the books. And as you read them, they're ever fresh because you can read them over and over again and you will find new things every time. You can also feel free to open a book, open one of these books and read a page, and that's okay too, because one of Prabhupada's excellent qualities was that every page, you will so much nectar within every page that you can almost get the whole science just by reading any page. And then another one, this is Krishna Bhakti Rasa Bhavita Matahi Kriyatam Yadi Kuto Pi Labhyate Tatra Laryam Api Mulyam Ekalam Janma Koti Sukriter Na Labhyate. And again, pure devotional service in Krishna consciousness cannot be had even by pious activity in hundreds and thousands of lives. It can be attained only by paying one price. That is, intense greed to obtain it. If it is available somewhere, one must purchase it without delay. So if you find it somewhere, you must purchase it without delay. And, this human birth is very lucky birth, and we shouldn't assume that we're just going to get another human birth. We have to take advantage of this human birth because we don't know exactly what could happen. And there's a soul in every creature, in every tree. There's a living entity, and Krishna is actually there with the living entity, helping guide as super soul. But even a tree has a soul inside of it, and so this human birth is very nice because a tree, although very tolerant, cannot necessarily make spiritual progress. The way a human is the only one that can really make great, huge bounds, huge leaps, spiritual progress. No, and that's where this is found. And so that's really why we're here. That's our Sanatana Dharma, our eternal work. And that's really why we're here.
If I may.
Hare Krishna. Is there any? Yes, Maharaj?
Please bear with me, my voice is a little. Someone may say, well, why do we have to learn all these names, Sanskrit names? Why are they there in the first chapter? We don't know any of these names. And we don't know who they are, we don't know anything about them. But it's important because these names come, this book is part of the Mahabharata, which is the history of Greater India. So the history of Greater India means it really took place, historical book. And when you're documenting history, you ask you who was there, who's his father, all these things have to be known. Then you can take it as being realistic. Now, if you don't take Bhagavad Gita as being historical, as all, like some of the scholars, many of the scholars these days, they don't take Bhagavad Gita as a real place. Or, Kurukshetra is a real place. And it really took place 5,000 years ago. So they feel free to speculate, this means this, the 5 horses means the 5 senses, and this and that. They make up all these things, what they want. They give their own meanings to it. Therefore you have hundreds and hundreds of different translations and commentaries on the Bhagavad Gita, and none of them have hit the real point because they don't take it as reality. Krishna is actually a person. Arjuna is a real person. So that's one of the reasons it's important to set the scene. This is not just a story that we can all use to portray whatever philosophy we want. It's as it is, as Krishna said it. He really spoke this, and everything has real meaning. Therefore, the Bhagavad Gita, as it is unique. Thank you.
Hare Krishna. Mayavadis will say, Krishna, that God can't take a human form, can't descend to the earth, but they're not giving God the power. They're not saying He's omnipotent. If God's omnipotent, He can do as He pleases. He can do whatever He wants, and He descends to us to help. Sometimes He descends. And that's why Prabhupada did this Bhagavad Gita as it is. It's the one. It's the one that finally there's a Gita that 100%, no questions. You don't have to question it anymore. We don't have to question it. Because a great teacher simplifies and says this is the one. And so, how lucky are we? How many years did they not have such a perfect Gita, So we're lucky to have this Gita that we can trust 100%. And some people might say that some offenders might say the deities are made of normal materials or stone or wood, but that's actually offense to think like that. And God gives us it's a little bit hard to learn these names, but we've learned all these fictional movies throughout our whole life, and we've learned the names. And this is kind of the most exciting movie you can imagine. So you just have to make it a movie in your mind. I can imagine seeing Lord Krishna and Arjuna pulling up in the middle of this battle, and it's quiet. You can hear the dust, you can hear the chariot wheels, and then they stop, and it's like you can hear a pin drop. And just imagine that scene and make it a movie in your mind. And we naturally focus on something. We naturally, in the material world, is kind of like an upside down world. It's a reflection of the spiritual world. And these billboards and so many things, and we're bombarded, and so people are naturally like worshiping things and giving time and energy to things like silly things that don't help them, like Coca-Cola or Forrest Gump. You watch a movie like Forrest Gump and you learn all these characters. So we all know that word, Forrest Gump, and that's a character that'll forever imprinted on our minds. So let's forever imprint these names on our minds. I think that's a very nice thing. And people don't realize they're worshiping when they watch that doctor show on TV or they watch that law show. They don't really kind of realize that they're really giving it their time and their energy, and it could probably be spent in a better way, because our time is actually our most valuable resource. And this human birth is very valuable. So time spent wasted is actually very, we don't like, we really just don't like that. So Hare Krishna. Any question, any other comments or questions tonight? Here we have about 5 or 6 minutes. So I'd love to hear some observations or even some advice or anything. Hare Krishna. Jai Keshava Prabhu.
How do we, Hare Krishna, thanks Prabhu for your class. How do we get rid of those little things that suck our time away? You know, like some like phone games or, you know, looking at the news incessantly or, you know, so many different things that are out there.
That's a great question. I can repeat it.
Thanks, Prabhu.
So how do we start to lower these things that are taking away our time and our energy, whether it's a phone game or, what was the other thing you mentioned? News. The news is a big one for a lot of people. And there's this like charge people get. They get like an energy. It's like, they get kind of excited about when they do their thing, their little special. And you lose the taste. You know, as you associate with the devotees, as you read the scriptures and listen to the scriptures, and you slowly lose the taste, and you think to yourself, I'm okay with that. I'm glad. You don't go back to a taste, and just because you have some old memory that you used to like a taste doesn't mean you still like it. So don't remember that who you are right now, that's not who you were 2 years ago, 5 years ago. So tastes have changed, and just be aware of that and encourage that. And it's like you're a student, you're kind of like just teaching yourself a little bit. It's like you've got this inner child and you're saying, no, do this, no, don't do that. And you're looking at the advice from Shastra, and gradually you take prasad, you take wonderful spiritual food, and it actually purifies your heart and consciousness, and gradually you will lose the taste for the material things, and your taste for spiritual things will grow and grow abundantly, and just, you know, and just little victories, you know, it's not always big victories, it's little victories. It's like, oh yeah, I haven't looked at that YouTube channel in a long time, and I'm okay with that. You know, it's been a long time. And that was the old me. This is the new me. And so we are changing, but we're keeping one thing in the center. We're keeping God in the center. We're keeping Krishna in the center. And so He's guiding us, and He's helping us with these small struggles and the big struggles. So just be aware of that. I think it's a combination of not beating yourself up, but also not being easy on yourself. So I'm not going to be easy on myself, but I'm not going to beat myself up at the same time. And so we can give ourselves a fresh start sometimes. And it's just these little, it's like as you grow, it still feels like we're climbing the mountain, but we're compared to 10 years ago, how different is it? So it's like your perspective and your goals change to where when you're in one stage of consciousness, you're thinking, you give yourself a goal that's attainable. And then when you're at another state of consciousness, hopefully a higher state, you give yourself another small goal where you never really feel like you're there, but you're enjoying climbing the mountain, and you're not, so I feel like that's a big part of it. Does anyone have anything to add to that, or maybe an idea someone else has, or a slightly different question or thought? Hare Krishna? Mridanga Prabhu?
Hare Krishna. When I read this part of the Gita, it reminds me of it's like a metaphor that Arjuna pulls in the middle of the battle, the different armies on each side. So we're like Arjuna in the middle, and we have to decide to act as spirit, soul, and to do the right thing, or to identify falsely with our body and mind and come up with reasons to not engage in devotional service. So it's that it's that battlefield that where Krishna is serving Arjuna in providing him with the knowledge necessary to defeat one's false self and his false identification with the body and mind and with his relatives, members of his own race or background, because they are not in knowledge and they're acting in ignorance. So we have to become the example for others, as well as to educate them in the fact that they aren't the material body and that they're spirit soul, and that they're becoming more and more implicated in their activities, being dragged to hell. We have to figure out a way how to approach them and give them these transcendental books and this transcendental knowledge so that they can also be saved. Because we have been saved by our spiritual master and by Krishna through the mercy of Srila Prabhupada and the great Vaishnava Acharyas, the Parampara, to understand these things, and we have to help others as well to come to that platform for their own benefit.
Yeah, it's like the true ego, having a little bit of confidence and you know, we see each other as beautiful, and we have to see ourselves as beautiful, and everyone out there is beautiful because we come from Lord Krishna, and so a beautiful entity. If you imagine any sort of beautiful, a beautiful entity should never degrade itself. You know, should never degrade themselves. So just if for Lord Krishna, for His beauty and satisfaction, we can only keep climbing the ladder and keep growing and keep getting better and better, and enjoy the process. All right. Hare Krishna, Bhagavad Gita as it is. Ki Jai. Hare